So this was an idea, we just thought we'd try it out and see how it works. How many of you operate a Facebook page that's not your own personal page? Okay. So we'll talk a little bit about that setting. We'll go through the basics of setting it up, as well as like some general tips for running it and posting on it and things like that. It is changing a lot. I know Facebook actually just did a whole new like update where everything looks different a little bit now. And I swear every time you get used to finding something, they move it and put it somewhere else. But we'll talk about that. We're going to talk about Google and validating your business, which can be done if you have a retail space, or it can be done if you have a home. So if you have a home and let's say you run your own freelance business out of there, you can still validate your own location. So it shows up as your business name, and the benefits of doing that is, nowadays that's how everybody's searching for business, is using Google as a search engine and showing up there. So we'll talk about that, as well as a little bit about YouTube and MailChimp, which is an email marketing campaign. If we want to, we'll get into that. But as I mentioned before, as we get started, feel free to interrupt, ask questions. That's kind of the goal of tonight, is to cater this towards what you guys need versus just what I have up here. So I just kind of listed through some of the heavy hitters, but Google and YouTube, they're owned both by Google, same company. So there's some benefits there from a marketing standpoint if you own a business, because if you were to generate some video and you put that up on your YouTube page, it's going to help show up in search results. So there's some things you can do there. That's a different level of content creation, but it's not to be overlooked. I know somebody that they run like a tree cutting business, and they do videos on chainsaws, on how to maintain it, how to sharpen it, antique ones they find, and all of that is in the same title as their business name and their location. And when they're posting that, it's generating content that Google likes and actually will help boost their search results. So if somebody's looking for, tree, lumberjack, cut down tree, company, anything like that, those search terms, that will help show up for them. So that can be useful. Facebook too also will show up in search results to some degree. I know like when the church here does a live stream of the service, that will actually show up in Google as well. So if you were to search Church Penobscot, Maine, those videos will pop up. So any of that stuff is going to help your visibility as a business. MailChimp is an email marketing company. It's what we use for the technology workshops, what the church uses. It is a free service. You can also pay for it. We use, I think, the free one for pretty much everything. If you pay for it, you can schedule stuff ahead of time. Probably get a few extra features in there. You're limited in your audience amount, I think, for a free account, but it's certainly enough for most people. It can be a little frustrating. It's kind of like building a website at first, because you're building essentially a web page that gets emailed to everybody. But it can be great to monitor things. You can see who's opening emails, who unsubscribes from things, and reach out to your audience once you build a subscriber list. And then some other mentions are Instagram, which is also owned by Facebook. So if you do advertising there, you can also do it through Instagram, and TikTok. We won't get too much into this because it's a lot more content creation versus setting it up on social media for your business. But those can be helpful tools depending on what you're doing. Facebook will offer you the ability to boost a post. So let's say, Bart, you do an advertisement about a lunch special and you put an ad out and you want to boost that post. It'll say, do you want to put this on Instagram? It's tempting to do that, but typically we don't recommend that to people because it's a different platform. Every platform has different types of content that works differently and performs differently. So kind of doing a universal, throw a bunch of spaghetti on the wall and see what sticks is not really going to work. So I'd just be cautious about it from that end.
So what ones charge?
They are actually, all of them are free.
Still, okay.
Yep. But if you want to spend money, you can. So like for tonight's class, for example, we did Facebook boosts on that and got some engagement. I think we spent $40 over the course of 2 months just having that show up in a certain area of people's feeds, which is a great tool. So just to throw some examples out there, if you're a restaurant, you don't want to promote your post to people in California, you want to do it locally. So if you want to even get specific, so let's say like the company I work for, we have a lot of lawyers as our clients. So let's say we have a client who's personal injury and they do workplace accidents. So we can, have our ads show up in vicinities of hospitals. We can have it show up if people like certain pages on Facebook, like DeWalt and Carhartt and things like that. So it's really, really helpful. I mean, it's kind of scary how specific you can get, but using that approach can really maximize your dollars. So you can spend money on Facebook. Google, you can definitely spend money on paid advertising. It's also known as like pay-per-click and things like that. And that can work depending on what you're doing. It's obviously much more sophisticated. MailChimp you can pay for. Instagram, you can boost the posts on there just like you can with Facebook and TikTok as well. But all of them can be used for free. And I think for most people, free is okay. If you're doing a special event, let's say you volunteer with the Historical Society and you want to promote a supper or something like that, they could pull some money from the funds and you could actually create a Facebook post and then boost that and put $50 towards it. And just target Penobscot, target 10 miles around Penobscot and have that show up. So, and it works. Around here, there's a lot of people on Facebook and the demographic definitely leans a little bit older. Like I would say 30 and up is on Facebook, especially around here. A lot of people over 50 are on there. A little slightly younger, I'd probably say 20 to 30 on Instagram, and then younger on TikTok. I'd say probably 15 to 40 on TikTok. So don't let people fool you when they're like, oh, kids these days are always online. I'm like, no, those parents are on there too all the time. Any questions about that? Does anybody use any other social media tools that I didn't list? There's other things out there, I'm sure. So for Google My Business, we also refer to it as GMB. That's kind of the short slang for it. Have you seen any of this show up before, like in search?
I haven't seen that. I get the service.
Okay,
It shows
so
on the feed.
this was a screenshot from my computer, so it's in dark mode, so it might look a little different.
I'm a dark mode person.
Yeah, well, yeah. Once you go to dark, you can't stand the white brightness. So up here you'll see a search bar, POMC. This showed up this way because I own this business. I'm one of the owners of it, the listing that is.
Right.
But this will kind of show you how it pops up on the right-hand side. And I mean, you can look at all of these great options here, where you can go directly to a website.
But I need to be searching it because I probably never searched Penobscot.
Exactly. So but this is exactly why you need to own the listing,
Okay.
because you can go in with keywords and add in church, AA, youth group, services,
Right.
help, anything like that.
And it showed up
rental
in my
hall.
feed because you're on my friends list.
That would be on Facebook.
Yeah.
But this is the feed. If people are tagged in it or things like that,
Okay.
or if somebody shares it, it'll show up.
Right.
But with Google, the key to doing this is getting on top of the search terms. The number one way that people are finding you or your business is by searching for things related to your business.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, I'm hungry, pizza, Bucksport, Maine. I would want Bucksport House of Pizza to show up number one.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll be surprised. You'll look and, Domino's will show up in Bangor, because they're just killing you on the SEO or whatever it is. So the first step in any of this is getting your Google location validated. And it's relatively easy, actually. You just need the physical location. If it's already a previously listed business that's shown up, you can claim it. If it's brand new, you can still put a pin there, claim a business, and start fresh.
We did that with our address, because 530 Farm Ridge Road goes to Orland typically.
Yeah.
So we went ahead and put our Stapwood Farm, we pinned it at our address, so that we tell people if they're searching for our house, just look for the
Yep.
pin for Stapwood Farm and you'll go right to our house. So
And they send you a postcard. Did you get a postcard?
probably a long time
Yeah. So that's what they'll actually do. If you either create a new one by dropping a pin, or of something that's already previously, like for me, when I took control of this, because they had never done it here, PUMC showed up, but nobody owned it. So I had the postcard sent to the PO box, and we got that, and it has a little code that you go back in. You've probably already done this part, haven't you, for your place? Yeah. So you put in the code, and it will validate that location, and then you get a whole slew of tools you can use. Number one would be just going through and filling it out, connecting a website if you have one, putting in your phone number, and then you can fill out a whole bunch of information on here, your hours. You can put in, like I mentioned, keywords, what people are going to search for in terms of what the business offers or what the services offer. So just as an example, with Penny, who does the embroidery up the road, it's for her to get on there and put those services and have them all listed. So when somebody's looking for custom clothing or something like that, it's going to show right up. You can also do other things within Google. They used to have a thing called Google Plus, which was going to be like their social media platform, and it failed. But you can still put in photos. So when you click here, add photos, you can see, if you have a restaurant, you want pictures of food. Absolutely. You want a picture of the menu. If it's a church, you want the facilities, what it looks like outside, maybe what it looks like during the service. And you can also put up some blog posts sometimes that can help with SEO. Gotta go back here. So that's in general what Google My Business is. There's a whole slew of other things in there once you have control over it. You can really go in and what we call SEO, which is search engine optimization. That's really what a lot of this is just getting your business present online, filling it in with the proper search terms, so when people are looking on their cell phone for that nearby, it will show up or as a suggestion.
Okay, so if I want to search it, I'd have to go out on Google and then type in some keywords, and then you might show up. Is that how it goes?
Yeah, well, like if you pull up your phone or your iPad and you type in the browser, a lot of times it's going to default to Google. It's using Google to then search for it. It definitely does on an Android.
But if I went out on like Safari, it wouldn't go. I'd have to go out on Google to get there.
If you search, you want to try it? Pull up Safari. I should go to Google. I'm trying to think. I don't think they would go to a different.
Okay.
Try right up here in the search bar. Just type in pizza, Bucksport. So see, we already got Google search popping up.
Yeah. So go. Is that what I want?
Here we go.
All right.
And it goes right to Google.
Oh, and then it's just gonna expand the radius. Okay.
So that's like.
So that's Google.
Yeah,
Okay.
and so you see how.
But I went out on Safari, but it
Exactly.
switched over.
So they probably ran their own search engine at some point, but then Google just became so dominant as the search tool.
Okay.
So now on Android and Apple, you have that as a default. So that's just, you're talking a majority of everyone owns either an iPhone or an Android that are using Google to search. So it's just the vast majority of people are finding your business.
But if somebody posts something on Facebook, but I haven't joined up on Facebook, I can't access it, right?
Not true, you can. You can still see it without a Facebook account.
Oh, how do you do that?
It would show up like through a direct link, like somebody sends it to you.
Right. And then
Or
I can open it.
you
I
can
should
click
be-
on it, it will show it to you, but you can't do much more.
Right,
You're kind of
right,
limited.
okay.
Yeah. I know here the church decided to live stream the service through Facebook because it can be accessed by people without a Facebook account.
Okay.
They can still click on the link and watch it, and it's fine. And we'll talk about some of the advantages of having Facebook and using that to post stuff, because there's definitely a few. But in terms of getting your business to show up, that's the number one way, through Google, getting control of that. I know with Deco at the barber at Orland Community Center, when I first met him, we were talking, he hadn't done that yet. And when I was literally getting a haircut and just, let me see your phone. And we went and we validated it. I talked to him like a month or two later, and he was just like, the traffic was just crazy. Like it just completely jumped. Like so many more people, because that's how you find getting a haircut. Haircut, Bucksport Maine. And he was just boom, showing right up. So that's done by validating the location. And if you have a Gmail account, it's a lot easier. You'll get access to a lot of those tools just through that. If not, you use your email to create an account in Google, but you'll have a profile, and when you click up on your email, it'll show you all those different tools you can use, like YouTube, Google Meet, all these other things. You'll see Google My Business up there. And so, I help with the church page here. We do the technology workshop. I have my sister's business. I help her with that. So those are all up there for me on the Google My Business. That's how I access them. And the last element here too is gathering reviews. Is very important. We've done a poor job of it at the church, but
Yeah, fire department only has 2 reviews.
Yeah.
They're both 5-star, so, get that going.
the best is my sister, her business, somebody gave it like 3 stars and they're like, just a place to get your engine fixed. They're just, I guess it wasn't stellar enough, but sometimes you'll get that people don't know how to properly use the reviews. But that, when you get a bad review, you can also reply to that. As somebody who works in marketing, I'm reluctant to leave bad reviews personally. Like, it has to be really bad because the damage it does is hefty. On a small business, to leave a bad review, it can just kill businesses.
Because you can't delete it.
You can't delete
You
it.
can't delete it.
And when you're sitting on 2 reviews and your third comes in and it's bad, that's a third of your reviews. See, that percentage just drops. And it's up there. People see it. They see negative reviews before they see positive reviews. You're gonna notice the bad stuff first. It's tough. It's just the nature of the beast. But if you can get Google reviews, that helps your listing too. Google will start to see, okay, this is popular. People like it. It's gonna prioritize it. Google has very sophisticated algorithms and computers that are running this stuff all the time, and they change it, like we talked about earlier. They change this stuff all the time. So it's just important to be on top of that. I know, like with certain businesses, it's helpful to actually ask people to do it right there. Let's say you run a restaurant, like, man, that meal was absolutely great. Be like, oh, would you mind just pulling out your phone and doing a quick Google review? And even the law firms I work for, they'll probably wait till they come in to get the settlement check before they, hey, before we give it to you, can you give us a Google review? But that's a huge thing if you can do that. I guess the fire department,
We're not usually asking for reviews,
Yeah.
as long as we don't get a bad review that we have to figure out,
Right. Yeah, my house is gone. They never showed up.
Yeah. Took them 17 minutes to show up.
Clients, right?
Yeah, we analyze our clients for sure, so.
But even the outreach stuff in the community, like the suppers or anything like that.
Bingo, exactly, yeah. And any way to get it.
They showed up with, sticks and marshmallows.
Yes, brought their own s'mores.
This is my friend's business in New Jersey. He's got 854 reviews at 4.5 stars, pretty much.
That's
which is-
good.
That's good.
Yeah. He's a hustler though, so he's definitely out there. New Jersey, you have a higher concentration of people. People are much more used to doing this. I used to do a ton of Google reviews, like when I traveled, things like that. And Google will send you like an email saying, "Oh, your review's been viewed this many times." I've had photos that I've taken, and they'll end up on somebody's Google listing in Pittsburgh or something, and we'll get like 100,000 views. I mean, so it has a huge impact. I used to do it because Google had an incentive program. If you left reviews, they would give you free services like Google storage space, like Drive. Then they took it all away. So, don't do that. But it has a huge impact, and a lot of people will see it. Also, if you have a restaurant, and you have the ability to order online, you can have all that direct stuff there. So, any questions about Google? Just real quick, YouTube is owned by Google. As I mentioned, the content there can directly impact search results for business. If you have a Gmail account, you already have a YouTube account. And it's a great place to show off skills, services, products, and can build your brand. Just as easily as it can help you, it can hurt you, though. If you're generating content that's not good, doesn't sound good, doesn't play good, it's not getting views, Google will see that also and can actually start to bury the listing or the YouTube performance because it's just, not performing well. So it's kind of a different animal in terms of that. Like my friend who I was telling you makes the chainsaw videos. He went through a growth period where he was making these videos where the commentary wasn't much or the sound was bad, and he had to kind of fine tune that and hone in on it. Yeah. Questions on YouTube? Anybody have a YouTube channel?
I have a YouTube account, but it talks about like upgrading or something, and I just have a free account. So what is the upgrade?
Well,
You don't
you-
need to upgrade. They
yes.
just want you to pay so you don't get the ads.
Yeah, that's for
That's all
using
you get
YouTube.
out of upgrading, okay.
Yeah, that's just to watch stuff without ads.
Oh, okay.
But you can have a YouTube channel for free. They want you to have one. They want content on there.
Right,
To make money on it, I think you need like 20,000 subscribers or something.
okay, yeah.
It's pretty hefty, but yeah, I mean, I know with the Candlepin stuff that I was doing, once I was putting up videos on there, like behind the scenes of what it looks like with the pin setters and stuff like that, and just properly titling stuff, it's pretty cool to see how it works and showing up in search results versus, you know, if I just put a video up that says bowling, you know, it's not going to do that well. You have to title that stuff. But the benefits of doing that, when you title it and you put in the description, those are all the keywords I was talking about for search terms. So, you know, if it's a restaurant and you're showcasing how pizzas are made, all that description that you put in there, we're talking like location, you know, pizza place.
Wood-fired.
Yeah, wood-fired
Yeah.
pizza, Bucksport
Rustic.
made, hand tossed,
Yeah.
you know, delicious. You put that stuff in there, that's all gonna tie into, especially if you have that Google location, you're running a YouTube account that's connected, and it will even show up there on your Google listing. So there's some benefits there. It's a lot of extra work, but it can pay off, and it's free besides your labor.
We used to have a YouTube account, they closed it on us, but we had one for about 5 years. The 40 Warriors Project,
Oh yeah.
yeah, they decided they didn't like it.
Shut
So
you
they can
down.
close your
They
down real quick if they want to.
That's what happens when it's free, I guess, too.
Yeah, well, we weren't trying to make money or anything like that,
Yeah.
we were just doing our thing.
And you know, the other thing too is monitoring that stuff. Anytime you're doing all this, you want to make sure you are monitoring it. So like Google reviews, staying on top of that. So if you were just getting bad reviews and you're not noticing, it's just going to hurt you and you're not replying to it. Same thing with YouTube. If you have a channel and you're creating content and you're just getting bad comments or dislikes, and that's gonna. I think they finally are doing away with the dislike button, which is good. It's a good thing.
Yeah, because you can have people walking around just like this, just because they had a bad day.
Yeah, and I mean it's the internet. Just
I
negative. Negativity just rules on the internet.
Right.
It's awful. I don't, you know, in terms of marketing, like if something is bad, it gets far more press than if something's actually good. You know, you look at all the new Disney stuff. Like the new Disney trailer, it was like 1 million dislikes to like 50,000 likes. People are just so quick to shut it down. So yeah, and if you've ever put a video up there, like I did a music video years ago, and it had a lot of plays, like 30,000 plays. And you go in and you read comments. You know, you have to be ready for criticism, for sure. So my general rule is I skip over and never look at it. All right, Facebook. So a few people have some pages, right? There's like 1 or 2 of you. Creating a page has actually gotten a little bit easier on Facebook. But it used to be people would make like a personal page, title it their business. I know when I took over for the church here, the page was called Penn's Churd. They spelled church wrong, and it was a personal page.
Can you fix it?
No, completely blocked out. So luckily we were able to create just a fresh page as the church.
So stuff can't be erased once you're on Facebook?
if you have
related.
if you have access to it, you can.
Okay.
But this was somebody else who had been here, left, created this thing. Luckily, no one's searching for Penn's Churd, so it's still there. You know, if you want a good laugh, go look at it. Facebook started to recognize that people had businesses and they wanted multiple people to have access to it. So, you know, it shouldn't just be me in charge of the church Facebook here. We need several people. You know, if something happens to me, I leave or whatever, you know, that would just be locked up like Penn's Churd was. So, so creating a page, you can do that for your own business, and then you can collaborate with people. You can invite them in. And we'll take a look at this for page roles in terms of adding like almost like administrators to the account. So they can go in, they can post. So for the church here, there's several people that can post about a supper, that can post about a service. And also on top of that, it's a group effort when you're trying to manage like group chats. Like if people are messaging you saying, hey, are you open today? But let's say I'm away for the weekend, there's other people there that can get to that question first. And it's definitely simplified, I think, than what it used to be. They're still changing it a little bit, but in a second here I'll pull it up and kind of do one fresh just to see where it is, what that looks like, and how you can get started. Is there anybody here thinking about starting a Facebook page? No?
I have one, I just don't know if it's a business page or not. I tried to do this on this back a few years ago, and it ended up being a subset of my husband's page, which I was not really pleased with. But so I've been kind of using it to post things on it, but I don't have a real so-called business. I'm an artist who sells things, so that's where I'm going with this.
And I think Facebook is a great tool for something like that.
Yep.
Um,
I
'cause you,
have several artist friends and they share their work and
Yeah.
yeah.
they
And,
become very popular using that.
and I think it's beneficial to have that separate from your personal identity. It is sort of a business. It's a different element there. You can share that on your personal page so all your friends see it, they can like it, and you can build a following there.
I have quite a lot of following all over the country.
Yeah.
But it's under my husband's page. Oh, well.
Maybe you ought to give him the boot, take over
Yeah.
for yourself. Yeah.
Kick it out.
Ricky, can I ask you real quick, when
Yeah.
you say Facebook, when you say page, are you delineating page versus Facebook account?
Yes.
So
Yep.
page means page, and if you meant account, you'd say account.
You can go to mine too.
Because
Tell
that's-
me what I'm doing wrong.
That's the biggest frustration that I have is, I have a personal account that I created years ago with my wife, and then I created pages from that account. So
Yeah,
it's,
that's
it's,
kind of what.
Yep.
it's trying to,
So that-
it's trying to figure out,
Yes.
and I want to slowly work towards it, but Facebook, unlike Google, Facebook is you got to be a real person. You can't go making up some sort of funny name or silly name.
Correct.
Because they're real clear about that, because whatever reason.
So yes, to your Facebook account, that's your profile. That's you as a person. You're always going to have that, and I believe it's important to separate that from your business. If I post pictures of my daughter or something like that, I don't really want that just open to everybody.
Yeah.
I want my business stuff separate, and so
So that it never automatically blends in. It will always stay separate from your personal to your business.
yeah. So you can see down here my shortcuts.
Yeah.
So these are some of the pages that I manage: technology workshops, reversing falls, my film, Candlepin, the church. Or these are also, just some groups like the Blue Hill Swap and Trade. This is all different, from my actual account. You can see up here where I can switch easily. This is a new feature they
But I
added.
just discovered that.
Yeah, they just added it. So you can switch to like a page that you're often interacting with. But you get this plus button up here. It says create.
Mhm.
So if you haven't done this already, this is how you create a page. If you already have a page, you wouldn't do
So
this.
you can create a new page that's not attached to your regular page.
To your account.
You're
Yeah,
making a new account.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I think like Bart kind of differentiated it. You have your Facebook account, which is you personally, and then you can create pages. So you'd have a page for each business.
But connected to that.
To your
like
account.
I have Fairy Whispers connected to Joe Tibbins.
Yep.
And I can act as either under that same
Exactly.
account.
Yep.
Okay.
Under that page, because
Yeah.
they used to call them something different, and now it's just pages for
Right.
businesses. So if you are an artist, if you're doing it for an organization, it's going to be a page. And the reason why is that other Facebook accounts, like somebody else, like let's say with your art studio, you want to share it with me and allow me to post stuff.
Right.
I can have access to the page too. So there's 2 Facebook accounts that have access to the page.
Ah, okay.
You can
And then can you
change what their
start that?
access level is.
Yeah, if you want them to be able to post or just maybe message people, or you can limit
Yeah,
the control
full
there.
access
Mhm.
versus other things, change photos around.
Do you have a question?
No such things.
So they have this plus button up here where you can create events and all sorts of things. This is where you would access to create a new page.
But when you do that, then you're not sending it out, it's just available for people to find it.
As soon as you create it, it publishes it.
And what does that mean? What's that?
It is out in the public. As soon as you officially create it and save it,
But it doesn't mean it's sending out to people that you're already connected with, it's just on your page.
so if, let's say I create one tonight
Right.
for a music group, and as soon as I put all the information, put the pictures, and hit create page, it's possible that Facebook will take that as an automatic notification and say, Ricky Layton just created this page, and notify all my friends.
Okay, it does seek out, okay.
Which can be frustrating. You can save it as a draft and not officially publish it until you're ready. But yeah, Facebook always kind of, it's like when you change your profile picture, right? You're like, I don't need everybody to know. They're going to see the picture, but it'll be like, so-and-so changed their profile picture. I really don't need to show everybody that. I mean, if Facebook wants to just create content and have stuff coming in. So, you would pick out the category, if it's an, art studio, if it's a film.
Okay, and once you open up something, like if you had something out there and I belong to Facebook and I open it up, then when I don't want to see it anymore, I deleted it, it's gone. Like it doesn't go to the iCloud, I mean, it doesn't get saved or anything, right? I can get rid of it.
Yeah, let's say you create a page a year later, like that didn't work out, I want to get rid of it.
Yeah.
You can delete it.
Okay.
Yeah. And honestly, the hardest thing is doing one from scratch. It's super hard to get a following of people, to slowly build that up. And if you stick to it, you can. There's a few tips and tricks, and I'll talk about that can help that. And I'm just going to exit out of here so you can see. So this might look familiar to some of you. So when I click that shortcut, there's a few places that I can access that. Like down here, there's pages. If I can dig and find those elements in a few other places, but they have that really nice shortcut tool right at the bottom. I'm somebody, I use Facebook a lot on desktop versus just on mobile. Like if I'm surfing, I'm on mobile, but if I'm creating a post, if I'm doing any sort of content like that, I'm always on a desktop. I feel more comfortable. There's more screen there to fine tune things. Typing is so much easier than it is on my cell phone. So the screen might look a little bit different if you're always on mobile. But there's certain things like MailChimp, for example. You can download the app and do email marketing through the app on your cell phone. You're just going to get so frustrated. It's so much easier on a desktop. Maybe a big tablet or iPad would be okay, but just having that dedicated keyboard, I think, can work. So there's a whole slew of things in here. Obviously, they do have the Meta Business Suite, where it's a different screen. That's where you can create tons of content. You can schedule posts. You can still do it the old-fashioned way.
And then once it's on, it cannot be on forever until you personally take it off?
Yeah, once you publish it, it's up there until, you can delete it when you want. Yeah. You can even edit it too. If you had a typo, you can go in and fix that. You can also boost the post. So this is what I mentioned earlier, when you spend a little bit of money for it to show up. And there's a ton of stuff you can do in there. But creating events is another thing. We did that for the class tonight. You can probably see here the benefits of boosting. It reached 4,000 people. we got 72 responses, and this was all dedicated area. So this was people within, I think, a 30-mile radius or 20-mile radius. Kind of tells you what the prominent audience was. You could add ticket sales, anything like that. You can also create very specific ads. We did this when we launched the workshops. We didn't do a ton of this because a lot of people we were trying to target were digital literacy basics, kind of figuring a lot of them maybe aren't even online yet. So, you can create an ad and put that out there. Specifically, this isn't a boosted post, this is an advertisement that shows up differently in the feed. You can also see just in general, like a lot of the insights, like how have things performed, like how many people is it reaching?
Yeah, I like that for the fire department.
Yeah, it's a great tool. You really get to see
Like
like
on average, we get like 160 views for posts when we post training, but when Lieutenant Flannery passed away last year, we got 22,000 views as it got shared by all the other fire departments.
and that's the key right there. I always refer to as shareability. What are you creating that has shareability? And if you have your audience sharing things, the reach is just massive. And we see this a lot with the church.
Yeah, the puppies.
Yeah, cute things. So when we just post about like the supper here, organically it's only reaching like less than 50 people. There's a few engagements. The service stream doesn't really, we don't do any boosting with any of this stuff. But it's probably just the amount of people that actually like the page where it's showing up. Sometimes, right here, 224 people reached on 10 engagements.
So what's engagement mean?
So that would be people that could click on it, that can comment or share it.
They didn't just
Okay.
scroll
They
by,
did-
they actually
Did
engaged.
something.
Not just that
they-
their eyes
They pushed it
saw
down,
it, they actually,
Yeah.
they actually engaged.
for better or worse.
They said, oh, I want to read that. Or see that
Oh, I
better.
did that by mistake.
That happens too.
Sometimes.
Yeah, so we got on like one of these menus for the froze. We got 310 people reached on 3 shares. So it's almost 100 times, 10 times. It just magnifies it. I want to find this one image, which is a great example of that. We're freezing here. I'm doing a screen record, so it's very sluggish.
Yeah, so like if I post something on my Facebook on the Penobscot Fire Department page, maybe it's the barbecue,
Yeah,
I'll put a post and then I'll tell like a few people about it and then they'll share it on Facebook. And like if I share it on my personal page, my mom shares it, 2 other people share it, all of a sudden we go from 50 views to several hundred views. So it really helps. If not just you post it, sharing it is where you get the most
So-
views.
and there's some really helpful tips for that, like having pictures, obviously, the visual stuff. If you're creating video,
There's a food in mine.
It's a pretty cool.
Yeah, there's a food in mine.
No Facebook.
I guess it was a while ago when this went up. We had shared a drone shot.
Yeah, I've been seeing your drone shots come through.
Here we go.
There it is.
15 comments and 6 shares, and it reached over 1,000 people. So you saw how we averaged 30 people reached, and that's with nobody sharing it. So just by having 6 shares gave us 1,000 people reached with 270 engagements. So that's people clicking on it, looking at it, liking it, 15 comments. And so you have a few elements there with that, like what makes that special compared to the rest of the content we're creating. First of all, like, is it a church service? No, but it's a really cool view of our little town. So it's got that shareability there with other people. Oh, yeah, this is
Pretty sure I
Penobscot.
looked at it.
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't.
Yeah, you know, it's just
Yeah.
it has that element where other people can kind of get behind it.
Puppies and kittens.
Yeah, exactly. Can't go wrong, right? So that's, I think, something to keep in mind, and is a good segue. So thinking about what the audience wants and what they're going to engage with. And when, for example, with video, how many of you are laying in bed looking at your cell phone and scrolling through video? Are you more likely to watch something if it has closed captioning versus if it doesn't? Or is your phone just like on blast, blasting at volume? Little things like that can really significantly impact the performance. The nice thing, like we have these streaming cameras here for the service, they automatically do closed captioning. And the feedback we've gotten from our viewers has just been tremendous. Like, oh, I'm so grateful for that. Because sometimes it can be hard to hear, even on a computer or whatever. It will automatically generate that just through that technology. And there's some tools out there that can do that for you. But just thinking about the visual aspect of it, we talked about the drone shot, puppies, kittens. Is this content that people are going to engage with? And I think if you're running a business, it's very important to always have that in mind. Every business or company or organization has a voice, it has a brand. And when you're operating social media, it should be with that in mind, under that voice. And, when I write a post for the church, it's going to sound different than when I write a post for the technology workshops or, for my film or something like that. For a restaurant, you're going to write content differently. And I think maybe there's a little bit of a learning curve when you first start doing that. But if you frequently post on Facebook, you'll start to see what's working and what's not, what people are engaging with, and trying to look at that with a critical eye. What did I do a little bit differently there that made that perform better? We know we have to post our church service on that, and we do that because, we have 5 people who aren't here in the winter or whatever. They want to see that. So we do that for them. Do we ultimately think that builds the brand of the church? Like, is it getting more people here? I mean, maybe. You never know. But it's helping us stay present and create content. But, we actually forgot to post the picture. We also didn't want to really brag either, but the church did a huge toy drive for Down East community partners. And we dropped off like a truckload of toys and stuff for kids. And it was awesome. And we had a huge picture of it. And we kind of thought about it, and we're okay. Well, we don't really want to brag either about it. There's that voice thing there. And then by that time, Christmas was over, and we forgot to do it. But something like that could be great. It shows that impact in the community. And then let's say somebody else sees that, and they're like, "Wow, that church is doing some cool outreach stuff. Like, I want to help out with that," or whatever it is, whatever organization. Those are the ways you can help build that brand and invite other people to show up, to help out, whatever you need. I know here, I just think in general with the church, we don't do a great job of marketing the suppers to outside people. The locals know about it. We got the sign out front, but we could really produce some better content about that. Even changing the suppers themselves, doing something different. It's almost a full-time job with all of that. But if you're managing your own business and you're thinking about that, and that voice, you can have a lot of success on Facebook doing it that way. You mentioned you have a decent following, stuff you post. So can you give me an example of what you might post that you feel like performs well?
Well, it's mostly, I'm a weaver, and I weave from photographs that I take. So I'll post the photograph, and then I'll post the work going on the loom, and I'll post the first weaving that is progressing, so people follow that. And then I also belong to a few other Facebook organizations that cross and share,
Mhm.
so it ends up going all over the place.
That's awesome. Yeah. Something like that is such a great recipe for success on Facebook. You have a visual medium, and you have also the before and after aspect of it. That it just has a lot of shareability with it. Have you done time-lapse stuff at all?
You mean like?
Like a video?
Like, I haven't done, I did a couple of videos, like, people were asking, well, how do you want to work? You know, and so I have a warping mill, I don't know if anybody reads or knows any of this stuff. And it's really, you know, we wanted, 10 yards or more on this warping. And so I showed how that worked, and I put that up there, and I got a lot of following on that.
Yeah, that's great too. I mean, you're talking about how-to videos.
Yeah, but I haven't done a lot of, of my work because I'm not set up to do video.
Well, so some of like the newer cell phones will have a time lapse thing.
Yeah.
Even like
I did
a.
some built-in time lapse.
Oh, did you?
Okay.
Yeah. So they got cool little video options in there. You can find a time lapse. You could get a little tripod or something, and set it up, and you could do a time lapse. So you could have before and after time lapse of that process.
You can do like a 2-hour process, and it boils it down to like 30 seconds.
Yeah, okay.
So people
So,
can
yeah.
see your whole process without having to.
Yeah.
Watch a 30-minute, 2-hour video. Or,
Yeah, you wouldn't want to watch me for how long it takes. Yeah, seriously.
but people would absolutely
People
love.
have no idea how much time is.
If they could watch a 2-minute video of that time lapse, they'd be like, that's really cool, So stuff like that can have some great shareability. I know like just in that carpentry world, there's a ton of stuff like that. Like when they do the pour, what do they call that stuff? The self-leveling epoxy, yeah. When they do like tables and they pour that, I mean, those are some cool videos to watch that stuff happen. So, maybe thinking about that approach, what have I done that works well? Maybe something a little bit different. I mean, the best method is just to see what other people are doing and copy that, like, oh, that's really cool. I can definitely take that technique and apply it. So, just being mindful of the content that you're creating, it's one of those things where when somebody's not doing it correctly, it sticks out like a sore thumb. When somebody is running a Facebook page and they're posting stuff, it's like, man, they just change this a little bit. It would probably resonate a little bit better with the audience. And, on top of all of that, how are people viewing it? A lot of people are on mobile, scrolling through things. So
There's a lot of really horrible cooking videos. I used to teach culinary when I was, and this last one I saw, she's picking up her dog and showing her what she's doing on the camera.
Oh, no.
Oh, God, I'm so expert.
yeah, I mean, unfortunately with all these tools we have, it's accessible to everybody, but that usually means there's a lot of bad content being created. Yeah. But it's just more room to shine for the good content, to really stand out. Like I know for me personally, like having gone to film school and stuff, I was trained to always film things in that 16:9 format of wide screen. And the last like 5-10 years, I've just kind of realized, okay, maybe sometimes it's got to be vertical. As much as it hurts my soul, but it's just such a better viewing experience on the phone. Especially, look how big my phone is. Like, this thing is gigantic. So if I can get a video that fills up that much real estate versus a widescreen that's only going to do this, and I have to unlock my phone and look at it that way, that's just all in line with how that consumer's viewing that content in that media. And time-lapse stuff can be really cool. I think that's so. This gets a little complicated, but Facebook and Instagram have like a shorts or reels video option, which is their version of TikTok. So TikTok are just short videos. You'd see a lot of time-lapse stuff with those. Typically they're always filmed in that vertical, portrait type format. And YouTube has their own. I think YouTube it's called Shorts, and then there's Instagram Reels, and then TikTok. And those are just short little videos that get a lot of shares on them, and things like creating art, time lapse of painting, anything like that can perform really well. And I don't know if you've noticed, but Facebook has started integrating them into the feed. So when you're just scrolling through, there's a whole lineup of all these videos. So they really just ripped off TikTok, which had ripped off somebody else. It's like Snapchat. But so that stuff's always kind of changing, but you can see how it's expanding. And I'm of a personal belief that like TikTok and those short videos are highly addictive. The people that I
Down
know,
the rabbit hole.
yeah,
Hour later. Oh.
just scrolling, because it's such a short attention span. It's, okay, I don't like that. I want this. I want that. You know, it's pretty wild. But you can have some success doing that stuff. I know at the Orland Community Center, where Bart and I both have offices, Deco the barber there does a ton of stuff on Instagram, and he uses a lot of short videos, and he was finding a lot of success. They have sounds you can use, like popular audio clips that people are putting over their videos, and he was putting those in his videos, and it was just shooting them from 1,000 to 35,000 on a regular basis. It has algorithms that recognize the videos that as something that people might like, and just automatically boosts that and shares it. Not to go too far off on the tangent, but also creating that content within that platform is also important, and can affect performance. So when I said you don't want to necessarily boost a post on Facebook and Instagram at the same time, it can be kind of a waste of money because they're different platforms, and the media is, digested differently on each platform. So for example, if I create a TikTok video and save it and then upload it to Instagram, it won't perform as well as if I just created the video on Instagram, because they want to prioritize you using their platform to create media. Facebook's a little bit different because you can't necessarily create it there, but one example where that would apply, let's say you make a video and you post it on YouTube, and then you share that link on Facebook. You want to actually skip that, you just want to post the video to Facebook, because it will have autoplay, it could produce closed captioning. That stuff will generate far more interaction with your audience. Think about autoplay, just scrolling, and you'll see a video. I think the human attention span is like 3 seconds with video, but you'll see it and you'll stop for a second and you'll watch it. Versus you scroll over and you see like a thumbnail with a YouTube link, you're less likely to actually engage and click on that and go somewhere else. Next up I have the MailChimp and email, but I feel like we probably have some Facebook questions. Are people running into issues with Facebook? Anything? What's that?
I said connection. Our connection is terrible.
In terms of internet?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where my problem is.
We're working on it. We're trying. Yeah, it's coming.
It is coming.
They're telling people
Waiting for the
that.
government to write the check.
Yeah, right. Who would have thought? I don't know if you ever got a grant from the government, but it usually comes in 6 months past when you requested it, and half the project's already done. Good luck doing it with no money.
And it comes with a tax bill as well.
Yes. So, yeah, I mean, connection sucks all around, especially in the harder to reach areas. Just talked to a gentleman who signed up for the Starlink, and he was like, do you think I should just stick with this? I was like, for now, wait until they offer the fiber, but once the fiber comes, you won't need that anymore. It'll be a lot better. And, I fully expect that once that's here and established, we'll see a lot more home businesses and things like that in the area. People moving here, being able to run businesses remotely and stuff.
Was there any recommendations or thoughts on if you're running a business, rather than creating a page on your own personal account, is creating a whole new business account? Because it's challenging. Because you can't. I don't believe I could go in. I've got a Bart McGraw as a personal Facebook account, and then 3 pages. My business, the Cub Scouts, and Orland Riverdale. They're all 3 separate pages. But I personally, only because in the past I've had people looking for me personally, and because I was the registered person with the Gmail account or whatever, I would start popping up, and I had people messaging me initially on the Cub Scout page. I was like, that's not personal, but it's Bart McGraw's listed for it. But I've been just thinking how to create a whole separate profile for something, because the Cub Scout Pack's going to be around for a while, and so is Riverdale. And say how what would the recommendation be? Just stick with what works, because you can migrate a page. That I don't know how easy it would be. I'd be very nervous the day I hit the button, because I just don't trust Facebook. And if something didn't work, there's no toll-free 1-800 number. I'll help you now.
Yeah.
But the idea is creating, just sticking with it, personal account, I don't have many problems actually. It's not like people are trying to find me personally on Facebook and they end up connecting me through a page. But the issue is, any thoughts on that? That, you know, is it worthwhile? Because you know, I've already kind of taken the first step. Is that on all three of my pages, my business page, the Cub Scouts, and Old River Day, I've gone in and created a Gmail or a Google account for all of them. Initially it was me, but I went in and changed the name on all of them. So for the Cub Scouts, I'm Scout Worthy, meaning Worthy, it's a real last name, and Scout, Kill a Mockingbird.
Yeah,
So it's a real name, and I was just wondering, at what point might I jump off and like use that Google Gmail stuff to go, because that's the first thing that's going to happen when you go to create a page or an account on Facebook, is they're going to, well, what should we
You gotta be a person. Yeah, and I would just say not to do that, because the way these social media platforms are trending, they're really trying to get people away from that and clean that up. And when you get locked out, it would be a nightmare.
Yep.
So we had a situation way back in the earlier YouTube days where you didn't really have like a business YouTube page. We would create a YouTube page. It would be like the law office of his first name, and then the last name would be so and so, Joe Bornstein, you know. And what happened was they started transitioning into business pages and wanted everybody to do that, and just started straight up locking all those accounts that registered as a business but were used on personal pages, and we ended up losing all of them. And
You guys didn't sue them?
it's Google, man. Yeah, right. We could send them a letter, and have that letterhead. But I doubt we're doing. You know, we just had to adapt. I think a lot of it's growing pains. You know, we talked about this a little bit in the other classes about how much technology's advanced in the last 15 years, 15, 20 years even. It was just absolutely massive, and now it's finally getting to a point where they're honing in on like user interface and experience and stuff like that versus creating the service new. So I think a lot of the stuff we're seeing is slowing down in that sense. You know, we've seen with Facebook them changing the layout a little bit, but I think it's just that's an easy way for them to red flag you and shut it down, and it would just be a nightmare.
Yeah. Well, it was initially, because that happened when I first created my business page. Is I went in and wanted to try to create an account and created a fictitious name, and then went to your email account. And
Did you make the Pence Churd one too?
And I had, yes, I did, and I had the email. You know, I still used the same email, the same Gmail, and but it kicked me out. And forever I was taking pictures of my business registration with the state, you know, my certificate, resale certificate, and like, hey, I'm really a person. And I just gave up because there's no one to contact. I'm like, forget about it, and I just went into my personal account, created the page, and off we went. You know, and it's been very successful. So.
Yeah, and I think
so. Don't mess with what works.
Yeah, there's probably ways you can clean it up to maybe make sure your name's not popping up in certain places.
I think I solved that problem because it was, you know, all these accounts in my business page and everything. It's there's really no name associated with it. It's the business phone number and it's the business email.
It does get tricky. It gets very tricky, like in some of these areas. Like if you go to share something.
Share is very. Although that new experience.
If you go to comment, this little spot right here.
You got to click over. Make sure
you got to make sure
it's your business, not as Ricky that you kind of going.
And that, you know, I fall victim to that sometimes too. It just sometimes it defaults back to that, and you're like, oh, that wasn't.
And they will work better on, because for me as a business, what I find useful, you know, I'm in Oral, in the community center, not here in Penobscot, but for me, and the new experience, it appears as though whatever happened, and accidentally I hit the update button. And I regret it. I'm not a big fan of it right now. It's actually frustrating me quite a bit. It's like, oh, are you kidding me? Because it actually disappeared from another, like you have your other page, like we can go to shortcuts. I mean, sometimes when I go there, if I click on pages now, I just see 2 out of the 3.
Yeah.
Because by an update, somehow it morphed my account, and you can toggle between them. So now it's disappeared off a certain place. But it appears as though some of the pages, because I know they're not pages I'm personally following, I was able to find not a backdoor, but as my business page, I would like your business page, and I would like your reading page. I would like those because I think it's good to build a business community. So I'm going to like and follow other pages that are good for my community or a member, like Deco's or someone else in the community center. But it was never easy with your page. Your personal account, you could go in and you can like all kinds of things.
Right.
And it's
Yes.
easy to find them. On a business, because it was a business page, it was very hard to like and follow other things. But I was able to do that, and I think this new experience is able to show me, because I like the fact that I can go in and I can see Sandy's Saloon, I can see, you know, Friars, I can see other businesses, Bucksport area events, I can see those pages. So a page liking a page and following a page, I think it'll be easy, but it's still kind of a challenge.
Yeah, and if you're ever going to share something, like especially if you're trying to share it to a page that you have, so let's say, you know, the technology workshops, we want to share a post from PUMC, it can be tricky. Because sometimes visibility things, like you might follow them, but they have a post up that's only visible to their friends,
Yes.
and you want to share it and it won't let you, and the menu will look different. Like you'll go to certain places, you only have these 2 options,
Yes.
and there'll be other times you'll click and there'll be 5, and you're like, why is this different than the other one?
It's because of the post and the content.
A lot of times it'll have to do with the visibility of a post on a personal page.
Okay.
But yeah, I agree with you in terms of trying to like other pages and things like that, using the Facebook layout as a feed for the business is they've actually gotten away from that. It used to be like you'd have a feed just in general of those things that you had liked or whatever, and it just doesn't show up like that. Now it's your personal feed kind of intermixed. As to why they did that, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, a lot of like we were talking about that icon up there. There was like a pretty big Facebook update recently.
Yeah.
I was talking to Karen at the community center. She was having trouble with it because all of a sudden things look different, and
Yes.
it, you know,
Thanks for warning.
and that's not just only for people who don't know what they're doing or whatever. I mean, that gets me. Like as somebody who works on a computer all the time, they'll update my video editing software, and just recently I ran into it where it kept freezing trying to pull out older files, and I basically have to just wait until they come up with a new update. So it happens to everybody across the board, and these things are so massive, these platforms are so gigantic that to do an update, it must be the worst thing. And there's no way they're going to get 100% right. It's going to break, and then somebody's going to complain it's the end of the world.
It is because this is our world now.
It is.
So once you post something, is there something that you have to do to save it, or is it once
Once you hit post
It's
or
done.
publish,
it's done,
Yeah.
Now you can delete posts real easy or edit them. What about events? Because I whether it's with Cub Scouts or
Yeah.
even Orland River Day, you create an event like the one you did tonight, happening now. So say in 2 weeks, I mean, what's the sense of having that still on your page?
like this
visible
the
to
past
everyone?
event here.
What's that? Yeah, like past events.
Yeah.
So you can't, it's how would you go in and delete it? Like you don't need to have it there anymore.
So
Oh,
that-
There's a delete
You got it.
option.
So I'm just gonna go
Maybe
back.
it's better. Maybe it's better because see, unfortunately, maybe I do too much on the tablet.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
there's not a lot to see.
So I went to the events.
Yeah.
See how there's no options here, right?
Yeah.
Right. And then where did you go to? What's that? What's
3
that?
dots.
The 3
Yeah,
dots.
Yeah, it always means just more options.
Always more options.
Oh, then there it
Delete
opens.
it. But I mean, if it's something you had that was successful or whatever, it can benefit you to leave that up from a search result.
It's nice to see, like, if someone's new to the page, they can see how many events that you hold,
Exactly.
about what time of year they're gonna be. And
Yeah. Yeah, and just, you look at all this stuff here, like in the description, classes, workshop, learning, that's all SEO, that's search engine optimization. Those are all keywords that are going to feed into my Facebook page, which would then feed into search results. So, I would definitely keep it, if unless it was something that got canceled or just you forgot about or whatever.
Yeah.
You can delete it, but
Or if you have multiple where like no one, if it
Yeah.
doesn't look interesting because no
It
one
could be a
said
bad
they
look,
were
yeah.
going, then maybe you don't want to necessarily advertise that.
Exactly.
you know?
This one, yeah, I don't think we get a lot of engagements on this one even. But is anyone interested in like email campaign marketing, anything like that?
If you want to run through it real quick, that's one thing I've never done. So.
Okay. I'll go through
I
it
know
quick.
That's something I'll move into with the fire department. It really is.
It's a great tool to stay in touch. I mean, it is complicated. It takes a lot of work. Trying to migrate a subscriber list or something like that over into it can definitely be tricky. But we had someone from the Reversing Fall Sanctuary. She'd always refer to it as MailChimp, and you know, it wasn't unfounded. There was a lot of reasons why. This is kind of actually what the creation page looks like in MailChimp. These are all content creation tools that go into essentially what looks like a web page. You're building out this whole element where you can drag and drop. Okay, I want to put a picture here. I want to put a text block here. And so, or a video, social media icons. And I think probably the first go around is the most frustrating because you're building it from scratch. It's your brand. Like this one here is super simple. You know, really you would want like your logo up here, things like that. And so you have a lot of assets you're moving around and bringing in, and you'll find that like you'll drag a picture over and it'll be this big, you know, and you got to shrink it down. And that can be frustrating. And the way it kind of works is you create email campaigns. So you would say, let's say I want to launch an event and I want to announce this event. Or for the classes, when I send out an email reminder saying event tomorrow, that's a new campaign, and you pick like your target audience, and you'll fill out the title. So like this one was 2022 Sunday service and Holy Week schedule. You can see it's copy 15 because I just replicate the campaigns over and over. You should probably title each one differently so they don't get mixed up. And this is what a sidebar kind of looks like in MailChimp. You're creating from scratch. You have your audience, which you would maintain by importing a subscriber list. If it's a organization that's already existed, usually they'll have an email contact list. I know for the technology workshops, we had like 50 some odd emails that we got from internet stuff, like signups about what's going on with the internet and things like that. So we migrated that list over, and I had a frustrating time doing it.
So why would you go to MailChimp versus anything else?
So email is a great way to stay in touch with people.
Right.
It's a great option for people that don't have Facebook. There's still a fair amount of people that don't do that, and it's a way to get like a lot of media in one place. So you could have your information, you can have all of your links to your social media platforms. Plus, like I'll post, like for the church, I'll post a link to the service bulletin, plus a link to the live stream. So everybody, it's all in one place. And you know, I'd say probably half the congregation like doesn't have a Facebook. So, you know, in terms of having an event, it's easier to get somebody's email address than say, hey, can you go to Facebook real quick and like us?
I find the other thing is Facebook, it's getting so dumbed up with, you know, as algorithms change and stuff that posts get missed.
Yeah.
So you might have an event and you have people that are interested, but even in their Facebook scrolling, it just doesn't come through their feed. But if you send them an email, it's going to be in their inbox.
Yeah.
And hopefully if they check their inbox, they're going to see an email from you.
Yeah.
I keep an eye out for those keywords. I'm waiting for different updates about people's menus or whatever else. So.
Yeah, and that's a great point. Like, if you're somebody who's on Facebook all the time, you'll see that you'll start getting stuff from 3 days ago. Somebody posted this because you've already gone through all that content, so it's starting to just like regurgitate stuff. But let's say you aren't on Facebook. Let's say you check it maybe once or twice a week. There's a lot of content on there, and you're probably not going to get to that if Facebook isn't recognizing it as a priority. So yeah, that's a great point. And so just in terms of like business, it's always easier to get people to do something right then and there than it is to ask them to take the extra step and go home and do something. 9 times out of 10, they don't go home and do that other thing. You need that engagement right away. And that's like from a sales standpoint. If you're asking somebody to buy a car, you don't tell them to go home and think about it. You ask them to buy it, and you ready to do this right now? So getting an email address right away is a great way to get that first step done, rather than waiting on them to come find you or reach out, because they'll probably forget. I think a lot of our email list probably came from election day and just one of the booths that was there, and just asking if you're interested in internet, drop your email. So it's a great way to build an audience that way. But it's a lot of work. Like running email campaigns is a decent amount of work. I do it here for the church, and it's very simple, just because I don't have the time to just be building this stuff out. Half the time I forget to do it week in and week out. But yeah, and just communicating with people. I know with the technology workshops, like I send out those event reminders. I get a lot of people that email back, oh, is this at least going to be online? I can't make it, but when is the next thing? And they might not be on Facebook. Just some tips though, like in terms of monitoring the audience. I think they upped it. It used to be a 30 subscriber limit for a free account. I think they actually made that, they lifted that, and it's like 50 or even higher for the free account. But you can monitor it. So if you look and you see somebody unsubscribed, you got to make sure you remove them from the subscriber list, because they count as one of your audience members, but you can actually archive them so they're not. So paying attention to that, you'll see click-through rate, like how many people are actually opening it, which I think for some of the campaigns we run is probably around 50%, which is pretty good. I think that's pretty good for like the amount of stuff hitting. We talked about content on Facebook, the amount of stuff hitting a lot of people's emails. Getting it started can be tough because Google, the filters are so intense that it will go to spam filters sometimes. So we've had a lot where we just coach people, like be on the lookout for this email. If it shows up from Penobscot Technology Workshops, to please add that to your contacts, or favorite it, or something like that. We try not to over email people. They do get sick of that. For an event here, like I might send one out this month, here's what to expect, and then the day before, event tomorrow, here's your reminder. But if you hit that inbox a few extra times, they might start unsubscribing. So there's for a lot of the paid accounts, you can do automations, which are somebody, like if you have a website and you have a contact form and they put in their info, you can have an automated response that sends out thanks for subscribing, things like that. And if you're running like a business website, that can be a great tool in terms of automatically incorporating somebody's email address right into your subscriber list. I think people are probably reluctant to be dishing out their email address left and right online, but you do get a few that creep in every once in a while. And as I mentioned, the paid account will give you the ability to create emails and schedule them and send them out. So with the free account, you create that email campaign, you have to send that out right away, or save it as a draft and then log back in and send it when you're ready to send it out. But if you ever messed around with building a website, even back in the day or anything like that, that's kind of what the email campaign looks like. You're just messing around with the structure and moving some blocks around. But it's frustrating. I've had a lot of people complain about it, including myself.